Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. This is the most powerful platform, bar none, for truth anywhere on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is your platform for truth. And I'm your host, your brother, and your friend, Rashid. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for giving me a little bit of your time today. I'm going to try not to be long and try not to take too much of it, but we're going to discuss a few things. I also want to share something with you all at the last minute because Dimitri Lascaris is covering the events in Lebanon. You know, Dimitri is like here. He's everywhere. He's traveling, doing all kinds of stuff. He hit me up earlier this morning, and I talked to him, and he said he asked me if it was okay for us to reschedule the show for next Wednesday, and I told him cool. He sent me a reminder email also about around 8. Let's see, the reminder email was about it was around 6 this morning. He sent me a reminder email saying that reminded me that we needed to reschedule. So it's right here. And I won't go into the email because it's personal and everything, but he did say he wanted to extend his condolences, and he wanted to apologize to everybody who was looking forward to him being here, but he will make up for it next week. He has to cover a few things that is going on in Palestine and in Gaza and in Syria and Lebanon right now. And so we may be one of the first platforms to have that information. Okay, so of course we have no problem with him doing this, but I didn't want to leave you guys high and dry, and I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. So we're going to cover a few things, man. I'm telling you, we've just been disconnected from locals. How did I know that was coming? I don't think it's locals' fault. I think it's StreamYard is doing this, okay? Because it's on my StreamYard dashboard. It's not a YouTube this time. It's StreamYard. I want to go into an article that came out yesterday. Okay. All right. And I want to also give a shout out to my niece, Zaria, who had a birthday yesterday. All right. Shout out. Happy birthday. Uncle's still going to punch you in the stomach though. So I wanted to give a shout out to my niece on that one. So the article is on RT, and it's Tehran made big mistake, Netanyahu. And it starts off like this, because the reason I read articles to you guys is because sometimes when they're writing these articles, they don't respect your intelligence. And so they write them in such a way as to spit in your face, all right? And most people read the articles and they overlook certain parts, small nuances of the article, because that's the way they've been programmed in school. I want to read something to you. It says, at the top, it says, Iran fired scores of ballistic missiles at Israel overnight in retaliation for the killing of senior Hezbollah and Hamas leaders. It says, Iran made a big mistake by launching a salvo of ballistic missiles at Israel on Tuesday night, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated, while insisting that the attack was largely thwarted, which we know that is a lie. Talking about they thwarted the attack. All of the videos show multiple detonations, multiple explosions. As a matter of fact, as they're saying little damage was done, they had right before that, Israel News retracted some of the statements of the government saying that some of Israel's military bases were totally devastated. I noticed that. I was following all of that. So which one is it? Did your military bases suffer major damage or not? Did the Mossad headquarters suffer major damage or not? See, and then there's a media blackout, and they are taking the media to where they want them to go to say, look, these are just holes in wall or in streets, or nothing really did any damage. Only one person died. Only one person died is because Iran strategically carried out the strikes as not to hit civilians. They hit intelligence and military targets. But the media looks at you and they talk to you as if you don't have common sense, as if they say, believe us, not your lying eyes. Don't believe all of those missiles that you saw in the video hitting their targets. Believe what we say, that most of them were destroyed. Even though we saw some of the anti-air defense systems engaged and missed the targets. And we saw the ballistic missiles hitting their targets. But the media, the Western media says, hey, A is okay. They only hit this part and they only hit this. Minor damage was done. Well, if minor damage was done, then why are you so adamant about this being such a big mistake on by Iran? Because if it was minor damage and Iran did this, you can let that go and keep going because Iran had to respond. So you can say, okay, they responded. There was no damage. There was no loss of life. There was no infrastructural damage. And let's move it on. We'll let them have this, and we'll move on, and we'll destroy their proxies. But no, the prime minister, war criminal, leader of an illegitimate government, Benjamin Netanyahu says Iran made a big mistake by launching a salvo of ballistic missiles at Israel on Tuesday night. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated while insisting that the attack was largely thwarted. According to Israeli authorities, Iran fired a total of 181 rockets, resulting in isolated impacts in central and southern Israel. The Israeli Defense Force stated. Okay, now, if one has access to the videos, you can see multiple missiles and warheads detonating as they hit their targets, evading U.S. and Israeli air defense systems. And remember that the United States had warplanes up and AWACS up, and so did Israel, and so did the so-called coalition, right? How did so many missiles evade that? If it was not a successful target, huh? Just tell me that. If it was not a successful target, tell me that. They don't want you to, man, these people are, I'm telling you, they are propagandists at the highest level. All right? They are propagandists at the highest level. I want to read a little bit more because it has something to do with a clip I'm going to play to you guys. Hold on, everybody. Hold on one second. I'm going to play one of the clips right now because I'm getting a very important phone call, okay? And I want to play a little short clip to keep your minds I want to keep your minds occupied right now. So let me play this little clip for you guys, and we'll be right back after this, okay? This will be about a minute clip, okay?
Based on their prior behavior, and particularly what they've been doing to Gaza and the West Bank over the past year, I think their philosophy, and if one can call it that, is to maximize the suffering of the civilian population and effectively render the country a failed state because they are incapable of actually defeating the military forces confronting them. This has been a standard approach of the Israelis, and it has proven time and again to fail in terms of quelling the resistance. It only angers people. It only causes more individuals on the other side of the border to want to take up arms against the Israeli aggressor. Let's be clear that the targeting of the healthcare system has been going on for months. I was in Bin Jabal in South Lebanon in May of this year, and there was a strike on a hospital at the entrance to a hospital, the emergency entrance to the hospital. They killed 3 persons there. I went to the scene 2 hours after the attack and spoke to witnesses. I spoke to the civil defense director in May of South Lebanon, and he reported that somewhere in the range of 19 paramedics had been killed by Israel. So this has actually been going on for some months. There is a clear pattern of targeting healthcare workers and health facilities in South Lebanon since the outbreak of this war in October.
So hold on, everybody. Hold on one second. I'll be with you in just a second. There is some breaking news going on in the Middle East. There is breaking news. But that's for another time right here. I was just receiving a call. I got to call this person back. I really do. I was getting a call from my daughter and a call from someone that's going to tell me a little bit about some of the information that we're discussing right now. So I had to tell my daughter, hold on one of the phones and talk to the other person. And this is happening live on TV, live on air. Now, I want to talk to you all guys about something. I noticed in the framing of the news, they're saying that Israel will retaliate, right? No, Iran has retaliated. Have we forgotten about the act of war committed against multiple nations with the bombing of the consular building and the embassy in when they bombed that, killing Iranian military and political personnel? Have we forgot about the bombing and killing of Iranian generals? Have we forgotten about the assassination in the capital of Tehran of an invited guest of the Iranian government during the inauguration of the president of Iran? This didn't happen 20 years ago. This has happened in the last few weeks. So the Western media says that Iran has escalated. What the hell do you mean they have escalated? Let's go to something real quick. Give me 1 second. Okay, we have it. The meaning of escalation. It is a noun. It's a rapid increase, a rise. Rapid increase, rise, height, advance, growth, leap, upsurge. An increase in the intensity or seriousness of something, an intensification of something. Now, why is it if I respond, it is an escalation? The United States said it's an escalation. France said it was an escalation. The UK said it was an escalation. The EU said it's an escalation. The NATO said it's an escalation, an unprecedented escalation. You're telling me my response to multiple provocations is an unwarranted, unheard of escalation, but the bombing of a embassy, which is considered the territory of that nation, is not an unheard of escalation. You're telling me using 80 plus bunker buster bombs on a civilian city in concert with the U.S. is not an escalation? You're telling me the assassination by the United States of a colonel in Syria, a RGC colonel, just the day before they killed Nasrallah was not an escalation? You want me to believe that the assassination of an invited dignitary to the capital of Tehran during the inauguration of the president of Iran is not an escalation? It's only an unprecedented, unheard of escalation when I respond? Bizarro world. You can escalate, you can provoke, you can ignore international law, sovereignty of nations, you can assassinate, you can bomb, you can occupy. That's not escalation. You're doing it in the name of freedom and national security. But for me to respond to the provocations, that is an unheard of escalation, and you will receive a response? No, that was a response to your provocations. But in bizarro world, the victim becomes the aggressor and the aggressor becomes the victim. Now, I don't advocate violence in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Let me be clear, because YouTube gets all in its feelings when you don't follow the script. I don't advocate violence. But as for me in my house, this would have been done a while ago. People say, use strategic patience. So you're telling me the assassination of academics, nuclear scientists, dignitaries, not over a week or a month's term, not over a year term, not even over a decade, but multiple decades, is not strategic patience? When does that run out? I tell you what, the same people who are advocating strategic patience for Iran, why didn't they advocate that for America during 9/11? Huh? because America wasn't hearing none of that about strategic patience. Why weren't they advocating that when they lied on the Syrian government talking about a chemical weapons use, and they didn't wait for investigations, they didn't wait for any satellite photos, they didn't wait for samples, they responded with threats and then missile strikes. Why is it that the victim always has to exercise restraint and strategic patience while the aggressor is always allowed to do that? And we just chalk it up and say, oh, they're stoking for war. Let's not give them what they want. Sometimes you have to give them what they want. And when you give them what they want, sometimes they realize what they thought they want is not what they want. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have dealt with bullies in your life that thought that they wanted to cower you, that thought that they wanted to punk you out until you responded, and then they realized that what they thought they wanted in reality is not what they wanted at all, because you beat the flip-flops off of them or something like that. The same applies to this. We've got to get out of that mind. This is a thought that permeates across the board from mainstream to social media to the alternative media sites, that America is belligerent, so don't confront her. The hell you say? Israel is belligerent, so let them do what they do. Soon their economy will collapse. Well, how about the lives that are lost in between that collapse? On your side, you're just supposed to take it. Take that. That's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to endure the losses, the destruction, the disregard for your sovereignty, your territorial integrity, and the rule of law and international law. You're supposed to just take all of that, hook, line, and sinker, just because the empire is going through a phase of collapse and you don't want to engage it. To hell you say. Will that apply in your personal life? This is how you'll know whether or not that is good for you. Does that apply in your personal life? If it has no application in your personal life, on the streets, in your home, at your job, then why in the hell do you think it should apply on a government level? Because governments are representatives of people. Let them do this. Let them do what? Would you allow somebody to come in your house and rape your children and say, oh, I'm going to exercise strategic patience because I know they're poor. We'll wait for the police to get them. You have a closet full of guns, and they're in the other room committing all kinds of atrocities, and you're supposed to exercise strategic patience. Huh? Until the police comes there, which could mean the end of your children's life, your wife's life, and your life. You're gonna entertain that? Then why should we entertain that on a political level? Especially when this is not going on for a day, a week, a month, or a year. This has been going on for decades. And when I tell people these things, they get butthurt in their feelings. But reality is reality. You can't sweep away reality. Shout out to White Hat. Shout out to Zinya. Shout out to my guy, Joel Bradford. Shout out to my son, Lil Man. I'm telling you, strategic patience. This is why, listen, people get mad. See, they get mad because I call an ace a ace and a spade a spade. I don't advocate violence. I don't advocate war in the least. Not in the least. But I advocate the use of common sense. And without that use of common sense, there is no need. If you cannot use common sense, if common sense does not prevail in your life, and you can't secure your livelihood and your family's life, then what good is it living? Huh? If at every turn there's a violent criminal seizing something from you or putting your life in jeopardy or the lives of your family in jeopardy, and you exercise strategic patience. Patience is definitely a virtue, but patience have a limit. We should throw these questions back to the aggressor. Will America exercise strategic patience if the Syrian government openly attacks the occupational forces of the U.S., the Great Britain, and the Israelis in 1/3 of Syria? Or will they immediately strike back? What was the order they issued after the assassination of Hassan Nasrallah? That the U.S. will immediately respond to any provocations on their military bases in the Middle East. Is that strategic patience? Huh? That's not strategic patience. That is acting in line with trying to secure your interests. See, the problem with Russia, the problem with Iran, the problem, and I don't think this is a problem with China. I want you to understand something. The problem with some of the BRICS nations, the problem with some of the global South is this. They believe that America can be reasoned with. That's the problem. The Chinese had a strategic plan since the 50s and the 60s. And they would bide their time till they built up their economy. And then from the economy, they would build up their political cloud. And with that, they would build, in concert with that, they would build up their military cloud, because they understand that to have economic cloud and no political cloud or no military cloud, the empire could overcome them. To have political cloud and no military cloud and a little bit of economic cloud, the U.S. and the West could overcome them. To have military clout, but no economic and political clout, the West could overcome them. But if you have your ducks in a row and you become an economic juggernaut, a political juggernaut, and a military juggernaut, it would be hard for them to do what they've done to Libya, to do what they've done to Somalia, to Yemen, right? To Yugoslavia, which is to wage war, demonize, wage war, and then balkanize it. To have your ducks in a row politically, economically, and militarily is to put yourself in a winning position. And I don't think that the other nations get it. Iran's president, Pezeshkian, I believe that's his name, right? He wanted to be friends, lift sanctions, and we'll get along, we'll go along to get along. He does not understand that America has never forgiven them for overthrowing their man in power. When they overthrew Mossadegh, the prime minister who was elected by the will of the people, the CIA, the MI6, and others overthrew Mossadegh in Persia and Iran. And they installed their man, the Shah. When the Iranian Revolution took place and they overthrew the Shah and the Ayatollah Khomeini came in, America never forgave them. And I'm going to show you how I know this. All one has to do is look at track records, right? If you go before a judge, they look at your track record. If you go to get a job, they look at your track record. If you go to get an apartment, they look at your track record. If you go to buy a car, they look at your track record. If you go to apply for a credit card, they look at your track record. It seems like the only people that does not apply these same rules of governance are the people down in the mud that are being exploited by the people who employ these techniques so that they can get advantage over everybody else. So if we put together and say, let's look at a track record. What did America do to Libya? When Muammar Gaddafi threw out the Italians, throughout the British, and especially throughout the U.S. from their military bases, because at the time, the military base in Libya was the biggest military base that America had in the entire region. Muammar Gaddafi got rid of it. They never forgave him. And guess what they did? They enticed him and his children by allowing them to come to England and the West to study at the schools. They enticed them by offering to bring them into the fold of the Western world order and to remove sanctions. All while they were undercutting the legitimate government of Libya by fostering division and seeds of revolution against a government that was for the benefit of its people. It didn't take 1 year, 10 years. This was in the making for almost 40 years. And then they put it into play. And right before they put it into play, they allowed you to see some glimpses of what they were trying to do in a movie that was starred in by Ray Liotta called No Way Out. You can go look at it. Okay. This was in the 80s or early 90s. Ray Liotta. Okay. R.I.P. Ray Liotta, I think, passed away about a year or two ago. And Ray Liotta was in prison in a penal colony for something that took place in Benghazi, Libya, of an uprising, right? They showed you glimpses of what was going to take place. What took place? What was the so-called uprising that had the West responding? In Benghazi, right? By a rebel leader, right? The exact playbook that was in the movie that preceded it by decades. So China gets it. I don't fully think that the leadership of the other countries gets it. That America is no friend. That America will stop at nothing to advance her goals, her policies, and her thoughts. You still have people in Russia, even after all of this, are saying that we know that after this conflict that things will never be the same, but we want to make an environment where we can trade with each other. To hell with you. To hell with trading with you. You try at my most critical juncture in my life as a nation and as a people, you cut off my trade. You sanctioned me. You openly stated that it was your goal to bring us to our knees economically and to defeat us strategically, and you still are talking about trading with these people, being friends with them, having diplomatic norms with them. It shows me that something is not right up here. Something is not right up here. For you to, Holly is in the building. Perseverance Chameleon is in the building. It shows me that something's not right upstairs. See, a different breed, a different leader is this. You openly state, all of the European nations in NATO openly state that their goal was to strategically break Russia and bring it to its knees, to inflict upon Russia a strategic defeat. So they went in every area that they thought that was a part of Russia's economic engine. And they strategically assaulted those pillars of power, even though they failed. They still did it. They had no concern about the livelihood of the people. All they were concerned about is getting revenge, breaking Russia's economy, causing an uprising in Russia to overthrow the legitimately elected President Vladimir Putin. You think I want to re-engage with these people? At my most critical moment, you steal $650 billion from me, and you think I want to be your friend? But in the mind of some of these politicians, they still want to be accepted fully by the West. I don't care if they're talking, well, the BRICS bank and the BRICS this and all of this and all of that. Look at the actions. Look at the actions. They are still preparing for the possibility of being reintegrated into the West. Even Vladimir Putin said this. We didn't leave the American dollar. We were kicked out of it. He said, I'm paraphrasing. So he was saying that we would not have gotten out of the dollar had you not done these things to us. That is insane. For decades upon decades, they've been encroaching upon former Soviet territory with an ill intent to encircle Russia, to neuter its nuclear potential, and to eventually decapitate it with a first strike so it can balkanize it to take the resources. That is exactly what Hillary Clinton explained. And you're talking about you want to be a friend and our partners? Are you serious? Russia didn't leave SWIFT. That's right, Holly. Russia was kicked out of SWIFT. Listen, Iran, and I got to give them, I give Iran a little heat sometimes, but I got to give them their props. Iran was telling Russia this for a decade. Hey, look, let's do a monetary system. Let's do this. They kicked me out of SWIFT. Russia would not do it. Look how long it took Russia to live up to its military obligation with Iran and give it its S-300s. Even after Iran had paid for them, they were talking about they did not want to violate the sanctions I might add were imposed by the United States. They did not want to violate. Hold on, you have a nation that's right close to you, a strategic nation, and you don't want to supply with the arms because you're scared of offending America, who is actually and openly trying to encircle you to decapitate you. But see, it's one thing to tell a person. My mom and my grandma used to say, but experience is the best teacher. And now Russia and Iran are what? Strategic partners, right? Would this have happened? Would Russia have embraced Iran if they weren't kicked out of SWIFT? If the U.S. had not sanctioned and stolen its reserves? Huh? Would these things have happened? Right? What I'm telling you is they still want to be, some of them still want to be included in the West. That's why they keep talking about repayment of debt to these international organizations. You know what I would say? I would say, the hell with your organization. I say, listen, I'll make my case. From this point on, we split. Your international organization and me in the global South will do business our way. You guys do business your way. And we will pay our debt to you once you pay your debt to all of those African nations that you pillaged, all of those Asian nations that you raped and pillaged, all of those Latin American nations that you raped and pillaged. And when you decide to pay back Yugoslavia for bombing and balkanizing it, we'll pay back our debt to you. And until then, like they say on the street, I holler. That's what I would say to them. Until then, that's what I would say to them. You get nothing. How in the world can you demand me to repay debt to you when you have robbed and pillaged the planet? And you're still acting like an international pirate by stealing all the oil and the gas and the wheat and the corn and all of the farming products out of Syria. You're crazy as hell if you want me to pay you back. Did you get her? Okay. Yeah, my wife just walked in. I was just saying something too. I'm sorry, everybody. But listen, why do I have to pay you back when you have yet to pay me back or pay everybody else back? This is what I don't understand about the African nations. They're screaming about aid from the West. To hell with the aid from the West. Pull up your underwear, strap on your boots, put on your big boy pants, and say, you know what? We have a nation the size of California. We have a nation the size of Alaska. Let us go and find the agriculturally rich land in this part, and let's farm on it. We may have to take a back seat for a minute, but let's have some 5-year plans to grow our own food, mine our own ores with the help of friendly nations. And then we'll call to account those nations that pillaged and robbed us before. And for any debt we owe them, take it out of what you owe us. And as long as we owe you, you'll never go broke. They have to stop being cowards. Strap up your boots. I'm sick and tired of African nations talking about the IMF mistreatment. To hell with the IMF. Africa is the most resource-rich continent on the planet. And you're screaming about mistreatment by the IMF. Kick their behinds out of your country. Find people that will help you. No, you can't start at the top. China was one of the poorest nations on the planet. It is now the largest economy on planet Earth. Get them to help you. Get Russia to help you. Stop screaming about the injustices of the West. You've seen how the West do business. You've seen the hypocrisy, the double standards. Pull your underwear up, strap on your boots, pull your pants up, put your shirt on, and go to work. Because after a while, if you know and you don't do something about it, you become a part of the problem. You understand? Oh man, I'm telling you. Listen, I know I went on my rant, but I have to tell. I have to call an ace and a spade a spade. That's just the way I am. I got it from my mom and my dad, my grandmother and my grandfather. We have to do that. My brothers and sisters are like that too. Hey, no biting the tongue. We give it to you. If it's raw, if it hurts, we're not meaning it for it to hurt. We're meaning it for it to be the truth. It's best to have the truth and it hurt than to have the lie and it be deadly. All right? I want to give a shout out before we go further to everybody in the chat, and I want to explain something. Dimitri Lascaris called me, hit me up earlier this morning, and because of something that went down in Palestine and in Gaza, and then Palestine and in Lebanon and Syria. He asked if it was okay for us to reschedule the show for next Wednesday, and I said, it's cool with me. It's cool. I'll just explain to my audience and let them know, because he's getting some information and maybe he'll share it with us. Maybe he'll drop it on his show first and share it with us on this show next week or whatever like that. But Dimitri, he's everywhere. You know, this guy's everywhere, and he's getting all of the news and stuff like this. And he's going to bring some of it to this platform when he comes. And it happens like that. But remember, tomorrow, for those of you who listen, tomorrow we'll have Larry Johnson on at noon Central Time. And Monday, Scott of Calibrated will be back on the show, okay? So you guys don't want to miss those shows, all right? And this weekend, we're supposed to be doing something for either Patreon or channel members, or both, one of the two, all right? I have to look in my book. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there to you so that everybody know, you know, I don't do clickbait. And I did not change the title, because he also sent me a reminder in my emails so that I would not forget to tell the people that he extends his apologies and everything like that. But we're going to get him on. So I just wanted people to know that, okay? I didn't change the name because this is what it was intended to be. And I want to explain to you all that. So, and you guys know when it happened before with other guests, what happened? When I told you they were coming back, they came back on, okay? So that's how we do it. I want you all to stop right now. Whatever you're doing, it doesn't cost you anything. Hit the like button right now. It does not cost you anything. Hit the like button right now. And also, if you have not subscribed, what will it cost you to subscribe? Even if we don't agree, we're adults. Let's be disagreeable let's agree to be disagreeable. All right. So long as we're not at each other's throat, we can disagree without being disagreeable. Excuse me. And let's see. Let me go here real quick. Something just popped up on my screen. Holly says yes, he has connections in West Asia. I'm telling you, he has it all over West Asia. And so he hit me up, and I'm like, cool, because I know, you know, I'm gonna get some information. So I'm like, cool. You can, man, no problem at all. So whatever information he gets, you know, he'll straighten me out. You know. Let's see. Joel says, at Rashid, I hope you and everyone watching is loading up on all stop, because if the neocons get their war with Iran, all is to the moon. Hey, Joel, it may go to Pluto, buddy. It may go to Pluto. But it's not if they're going to go to war. It's going to go to war. I've been telling you all this, and I've been vindicated. Matter of fact, I want to bring this up before I talk about that. For those of you who heard, I believe it was the channel member screen the other day, a few days ago. You know, I told you that the U.S. planned this. You know that I told you that people told me that Israel was just a proxy. The United States planned this to take out these people, to get them out of the way, to weaken Iran. I told you that, right? Go look at the channel member stream and see. I told you that when right before the strikes, the United States had assassinated an important colonel from the RGC in Syria, and they were moving on Lebanon, and when Israel went into action, the United States was actually coordinating everything with their AWACS. And then I tell you guys this, isn't that what's coming out now? Huh? Isn't that what's on the RT articles? Isn't that what's on Reuters? Isn't that what's coming up on all this stuff? Didn't I tell you guys that? Huh? I told you. So anyone who's a channel member knows that I told you. Well, what is this thing doing? It's jumping. Hold on one second, everybody. This thing is jumping so. All right, I got it. I got it under control. So didn't I tell you guys that? You know I did. If you're a channel member in the stream, if you saw the show, put yes up there. The last channel member stream. Now, also, I want to say this to you all, and this is a pat on the back to the show. Since I've been on, boom, look at that, boom, right up here. Let's see. Since I've been up here, I've been telling you guys that everybody was focused on the wrong war. Haven't I been telling you guys that? I've been telling you about how serious the war was in Ukraine, but I told you that it's not the war to worry about. My sources were telling me that things were bubbling up and there was a big deployment of troops and weapons there. I've been telling you that for a couple of years now on this platform, and for over a decade on others. And I told you that while everybody is looking at Ukraine, the Middle East or West Asia, the Middle Eastern North African region, which I coined as the MENA region, will explode and there will be a regional conflagration. I said, I know you don't see it right now. I'll go back to look a year ago or 2 years ago on the show and look at some of the shows. I said, I know you don't see it now, but mark my words, I will be vindicated on what I'm telling you. I said, things are going to explode. Where are we at right now? Huh? I mean, where are we at right now? That's what I'm asking. The proof is in the pudding. And now all of the shows, the big ones and the mainstream, are now talking about the stuff that I was talking about 2-3 years ago. Now they can see it because it's in their eyes. They did not have the strategic depth. They did not have the foresight to see what I was saying back then. I know it sounded like I was talking out of my ear when I was telling you guys, listen, they will attack Persia. They will attack Iran. They're not going to stop until they do it. And why was I so confident about it? Because it's in Scripture. It's in Scripture. It's in prophecy. I was telling you guys this. Look where we are. When this war breaks out, Iran is going to give America everything that she can handle and then some. Listen to what I'm telling you. So I'm going to reiterate some of the stuff that I told you guys about this. Am I saying that Iran will win? I'm not saying that. But America will lose. And why do I mean that? It's because after this regional conflagration, America will be forced out of the Middle East or West Asia. Not just America, but England too and her proxies. They are going to be forced out. They're going to go out limping. Now, here's the kicker here. Watch how things transition from that, okay, to Asia. And China is going to beat the flip-flops off America when that war takes place in Asia. They're going to roll over Australia like a parking lot. Watch what I tell you. You don't have to believe me. I'm just saying go back to the stuff that I've said 2 years ago and see where we are today. I advise some of you guys to go look at the shows that I did 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, before there was any outbreak of hostility, open hostilities in the Middle East. Go back and look. And vindication is sweet. I'm telling you this. So let's go to something real quick. All right. So we go back to this thing here about this article. Now, the Israelis have a media blackout on military facilities, and they're only allowing certain media to show certain things, which back up their claim. All right. Now, anybody that has watched the videos know that more than a dozen missiles got through. In some instances, dozens of missiles hit a certain area. And like I said before the Israeli media retracted a story, they put it out there that Iran had devastated a few Israeli military bases and had hit the Mossad building. They put it out there. Then after Iran started reporting what the Israeli news was saying, Israel and the United States put a total blackout on the information and pulled the stories. And then Joe Biden steps up and says Iran wasn't successful. And then they started showing isolated areas where missiles went astray. Oh, only one person died, and that was a Palestinian in the occupied territories, right? Iran didn't try to kill civilians. They strategically hit the areas that they wanted to hit. The intelligence area, the base that housed the F-35s that hit Nasrallah. And I told you guys on that stream that those were F-35s that hit Lebanon. I told you guys that. And now it's out that those were the warplanes that bombed central Lebanon, right? Look where we at. Look where we are right now. I will stop everything we're talking about right now just for one moment. Look where we are. Globally, we're talking about politically, culturally, financially, and militarily. I want to stop, and I want you to reflect on that for a minute. They say that the rules-based order has been at peace. What peace? The only peace that we've had is the pieces of real estate and the pieces of money and the pieces of resources that the West has stolen. That's the only peace that we've enjoyed. And that peace that God gives you inwardly. So now, if we look, and the reason I told you to stop for a second and just reflect is now, we look at the rulership of the Western world, the UK, the US, NATO, right? We're at the brink of regional war, multiple regional wars, and global war, right? Global war. Now, this is under the US leadership. This is under the British leadership. This is under NATO's leadership. Now, if we look at this situation in just a non-biased way, and then we go back to statements that the US must lead, the West must lead, why have they shown themselves to be capable of leadership for the entire world? Have they shown themselves to be capable leaders to think their way out of the situation that they have now put us in? Can they extricate the world out of this global warfare? If they can't, then why should we want America or the West to lead? Have they exhibited thoughts that's outside the box of Western domination, colonialism, exploitation, and occupation? Have they exhibited any signs, any thoughts outside of that? And if we can say that they haven't, why should they lead? Because if we go out of what we're in and we retain the same leadership with the same thoughts, they will just reproduce that which we came out of. Right? Because that's all they know. That's why when a company is taken over and the company that took that company over says that we're going to chart a new direction, what do? They remove the leadership, right? They remove the people who were the drivers of the old policies, right? So if you want something new, but you're continuing to employ the people who have that old thinking, how can you produce something new? Jesus said it best. What did he say? You can't put new wine in old wineskin lest the wineskin break and the wine spill out. You can't put something new into the minds of those who are consumed by the old, lest you taint both. So we cannot go into a newer position, a better position with the leaders of yesterday, with the policies of yesteryear, with the actions that have destabilized the entire globe. How in the world can there be peace when the instruments used for the wars are the exact instruments that they're trying to use to bring about the peace? Tell me, where does that make sense except in Bizarro World? I'm asking. Where does that make sense except for in Bizarro World? To retain an ineffective, inept, illogical leadership to drive you to new horizons. When have anybody with sound judgment, common sense, employed those tactics? I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. If somebody can point that out, then I'll be right with you. I'm telling you. A shout out to Pedro. Pedro, what's up? What Whitehead says, I don't do gold. It gets manipulated from time to time, still controlled by the West. Oil is not too much controlled by the West, so it is predictable. So, well, with that, I don't give people investment advice, but I will say this. Gold has been the store of wealth for a long time. Silver has been, these things have been immemorial. Anything that's tangible, any commodity that is tangible. I don't believe in paper wealth because they can do just what they do with dollars, with euros. I can get a whole bunch of it. If I offend you, they can nullify the value of it. So you need something that you can hold, something tangible. Now, yes, ownership of certain assets like oil or shares, there may be some, but let me tell you not to forget this, because you can't eat oil and you can't eat gold. You can't eat precious metals. So what? You got to have some food, some water, some of the small tangible things to keep you and your family afloat through the madness. So while everybody is talking about wealth, let me give you the strongest and the most resilient commodity of wealth that anyone could ever have, okay? Get yourself right with God. Get yourself right with yourself and get yourself right with God. Don't present yourself to others in another light. Show the world you as you are. They can accept it or reject it. Get yourself right with God. That is the number one asset to have, to be right with God. Because if you're not right with God, everything else is wrong. You can't get nothing else right if you're wrong with God. That is the byline, the beeline, and the be all of everything. Once that happens, everything else is just, it falls into place. Get yourself right with God. All right. That is the number one asset to have. Because I don't care if America and Russia sling 50 nuclear weapons. If you're right with God and he doesn't want it to hurt you, you won't be hurt. I don't care if they bomb right over your head. If you're in the protective bosom of God, the bombs fall in naught. Get yourself right with God. I don't mean to go on a religious I'm not going on a religious tangent. I'm just telling you, if you want my perspective, God first and everything else falls in line. God first and everything else falls in line. All right? Sometimes we get lost in the mix of things. Sometimes. And I just want to bring it back to the beginning. I want to bring it back to an even keel. I want to bring it back to the base. Don't build your house up and have an unstable foundation. Make sure that you have a rock foundation so that the house can withstand the barbs of the storms and the tempests and the windy days. All right. Let's see. Pedro says he's been throwing all my spare cash into gold and silver plus tins of food. Boom. Boom. Yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about. White hat, God first, true. Shalom, M. Sparks, peace unto you. So let's go a little bit further. I was going to end the show, but we're going to do a little bit more, okay? Let's go back to this article real quick. And then I'm going to play a clip. It says, in contrast, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, the IRGC, claimed that 80 to 90% of the missiles struck their designated targets, including the Tel Nof air base near Tel Aviv. The barrage also allegedly destroyed several Israeli F-35 fighter jets at the Nevatim air base. That's what it was, the Nevatim. I think that's how you pronounce it. I might be wrong. But that was one of the bases that the Israelis had reported that suffered severe damage. And all of a sudden, it was just minor damage. And they show you a small airfield. They don't show you the whole of the base. They show you, and then some of the satellite pictures have been skewed. I've been watching different satellite pictures, and Western satellite pictures are skewed. Man, I'm telling you, these people are the masters of lies, bro. I'm telling you. It says, according to the IRGC, at least some of the missiles launched on Tuesday night were hypersonic. Now, it goes and says, this is what I wanted to get to. Speaking at a security cabinet meeting, Netanyahu proclaimed that Iran made a big mistake tonight and will pay for it. The Israeli prime minister also issued a thinly veiled threat to those in Iran who do not understand our determination to defend ourselves and our determination to retaliate against our enemies, to defend ourselves. Let's go to something real quick. It's very important that we get this too. All right. I got dual screens over here, and sometimes the mouse is over on this screen, and I'm looking here. So hold on one second. All right, let's go to the Google Dictionary. All right. Let's see. Let's see. That's right here. Right there. Yeah, there we are. All right, Google Dictionary, the word defend. It's a verb, which means action, right? It says resist an attack made or someone or something, protect from harm or danger. Protect, guard, safeguard, keep from harm, preserve, secure. It says speak or write in favor an action or a person, attempt to justify. Listen, this good now. Justify, vindicate, argue, speak for, speak on behalf of, and support. So Israel says to defend itself. If we take those definitions that Google is putting up in there, and we understand that what Iran did when it struck out was defending itself, then it turns Israel's explanation upside down, because did Iran assassinate academics of Israel? No. Did Iran assassinate a diplomatic guest at the inauguration of Netanyahu? No, but Israel did. Did Iran bomb a consulate or an embassy of Israel? No, but Israel did. Did Iran set up, spy bases in Iraq to destabilize Iran? No, but Israel did. So now, when we look at defend applies more to Iran than it does to Israel. And I know people, they skirt around stuff that I'm saying because they're scared of the censors, and they're scared that they may be banned or given time out or something like this. But I want to say this to YouTube. I have not advocated violence, and not the least. I have not advocated ethnic strife, none of this. I'm just dealing with the facts. I'm reading the articles. So if you're going to get at me, you got to get at the Google, which is the parent company of YouTube. So Google, you got to sanction yourself, because I'm reading your definitions, okay? So don't come with that foolishness with me. So Israel says that it must respond. Why must it respond? Because it was the initiator of the acts. Why is America saying that this was an escalation unheard of? Why did France say that? So the killing of diplomats, ambassadors, military officials, right, and dignitaries, those are not escalations. I'm asking. But to respond to those killings is an unheard of escalation. Only in bizarro world. And the media feeds you this. See, this is what I'll tell you. They cannot respect you if they feed you this crap. And they feed you a steady dose of it. I want to play something for you guys by Mike Maloof, okay? I want you to pay close attention to this.
This is a whole new element now that we're seeing introduced in which the only rule in warfare now is that there are no rules. And that basically is what this is boiling down to. And Netanyahu doesn't care. He's on a messianic mission, and he's made that very clear. He now has a majority in his own parliament as a result of bringing on Gideon Sar. So domestically, he's feeling emboldened, and he also has the backing of the United States. And as a consequence, he feels that, and you heard Biden tonight, that they, and he said it 4 times, they back Israel fully. So he has the United States where he wants them, and he feels now that he has a mandate to do whatever he wants, and that is from going on into and maybe occupying South Lebanon, to cleaning out the West Bank, to eliminating the Palestinians out of Gaza, to ultimately attacking Iran. Given the possibility now of a major retaliation that Netanyahu is promising, unlike before, this could really draw in the United States very, very quickly. And Netanyahu knows that, and that's what he wants. He wants the United States engaged in this.
Now, Netanyahu wants the United States engaged. I hear that a lot, and that's true to a certain extent. The United States want to be engaged. Why would they not? And they continue to. I've been telling you this for months, that the United States continue to deploy radars, troops, weapons, missiles, ships off the coast. All of this stuff has been accumulating not since the assassination of Nasrallah. No, this has been going on for months. If America was not involved, then why the hell did she transfer openly? Go do your Google sources. That she transferred bunker buster bombs to Israel. Was Israel supposed to use them on Hamas? Did they use them on Hamas? And if they didn't use them on Hamas, then what were they actually for? They were for the very thing that took place with the killing of a top IRGC general and the killing of multiple Hezbollah leaders, including the highest one, Nasrallah. That's what it was for. You don't understand. The U.S., the U.K., France, Germany, and Israel have this policy: out of chaos comes order, right? Israel wants to expand and legitimize herself as greater Israel, right? How can she do that without America's power, without America's backing, without America's will? Now, let's remember that economically, none of any of them, Germany, France, the UK, the EU, or the United States, have the economic stability, the economic power now to maintain Israel with all of this injection of cash. So what they want is a destabilized Middle East and North African region, or West Asia, right? They want that. Why? So that the dollar can be maintained as the world reserve currency. Because if America has bases everywhere in that region, right? If America has the region destabilized, then they won't be positioning themselves to join the BRICS. They will not be suitable candidates for BRICS. They will not be suitable candidates for the Belt and Road Initiative by China. So that there will be chaos and violence and terrorism and destruction and poverty everywhere, which means that the dollar will live to see another day, because there will be no thing to challenge the dollar over there. And you know, when America goes and sets up the bases, she forces the nations to trade in dollars. This is what this is about, to buy time for the empire. Also, to legitimize Israel's illegitimacy, and to then challenge Iran and break her down so that they can have Russia, China, Pakistan, and India surrounded and be in their underbelly. This is a major move by an already overstretched, over debt burdened empire. And I'm not just talking about the American empire. I'm talking about the British American empire, because this is what this is about. When all else fails, as Gerald Celente says, what do? They take us to war. Every policy that they've put into play has failed. The sanctioning of Russia, the sanctioning of China, the sanctioning of Iran, the sanctioning of Venezuela, the sanctioning of Burkina Faso, the sanctioning of Mali, the sanctioning of Niger. All of these plans have failed. The influx of terrorism, that has failed. The assassinations, those have failed. The color revolution, those have failed. The attacks on civil industry and strategic assets in either of those countries, they have failed. Everything has failed to cement the dollar and to keep it as the number one currency. So what is left? If everything fails that they try, what is the thing that they will go to, which is their bread and butter to keep their economies afloat just for a little bit, and to try to buy time to come up with some kind of scheme to re-cement the dollar and re-cement American and Western power? War. It's failed in Ukraine. It's failed in Georgia. It failed in Kazakhstan. It failed in Kyrgyzstan. It failed in Tajikistan. What are they trying? They need war. And they don't care how many lives are lost, so long as it's not theirs. Nobody wants to address this because they're scared of the censors. Man, I don't care about that. Does this face look like it's worried about that? All right. I didn't think so. Let me look at the comments. It says, Random Zerg is here. Cheese Puff is here. Let's see. All right. I'm not going off the air yet. I'm going to give you a couple more minutes because I want to play another clip and I want to address something. So I want you to hear what Professor Mohammed Morandi has to say about any reprisal and any more attacks by Israel, which, listen to me, they need to stop talking. I'm talking about all of them. Instead of tell Russia, listen, when we strike, we will not openly communicate or intimate what we're doing. You have to just look at our actions. Because every time we strike, every time we retaliate, they have a heads up on it. No. The next time they do something foul, the next time, we will have to respond in such a way that we will weaken them. See, unlike Iran, which was sending messages, they didn't receive the message that was sent to them. I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about. Iran sent Israel a message. It sent America a message with that strike, right? But evidently, Iran didn't receive the message that Israel and America and Great Britain sent to it. You may ask, what message did they send? We don't care. We will not stop until we put our policy objective over. That's the message that they send. With the assassination of all of these people, with the bombing and the funding of international law, they're telling Iran, you're playing by my book, my rule book, not me. And unless you can alter your game and play this game called war outside of the box, guess what happens? You lose. So Iran is trying to, and this is something by Russia too, trying to play along to, quote unquote, the UN and the international law, while America, Britain, and NATO continues to flaunt international law, while Israel continues to flaunt international law. That starts you off at a disadvantage politically, economically, and militarily. You're already disadvantaged, so now you got to constantly dig yourself out of that hole of disadvantage. the thing, and I'm not advocating war. Let me hypothesize my reaction to an assassination attempt on someone I know. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. The skies would not have been seeing 100 or 200 missiles. I would inundate the area. I'm not after civilian casualties, hey, but it is what it is. Isn't that what happened when Israel leveled an entire 6-block radius in Beirut? Isn't that what just happened yesterday when they did it again? And every time they do it, to justify it, they say they were after Hezbollah people. Even though the blocks are filled with babies and old people. What's good for the goose has to be good for the gander. Look at what they're employing, the same tactics that Ukraine is employing. Ukraine sees that it cannot win on the battlefield, so what does it do? It hits domestic infrastructure. It targets civilians. It targets women and children so that it can get a rise out of Russia, right? Russia has been passive. Iran has been passive. But when you start doing to them what they do to you, they scream out. Make them scream. Make them know that they're in a fight. Don't just try to justify by shooting out, well, we're not trying to escalate. Well, they are trying to escalate with you. You're letting them know that you don't want war at a time that they're letting you know that war will be the only outcome. You may not want war, but get yourself prepared for it. So that you're ready. Because if you can bluff them good enough, they might back down. But here's the thing. With the West, they're going to come at you. This is what I was telling people from Russia. The West, you don't know the United States. You think you know them. You think you know. America is not going to stop until she either loses openly or implements her plans. That negotiating stuff, those are tactics to buy time when she's at a disadvantage. And she'll use treaties and international treaties to her advantage until she's able to get what you have. And then she has something that you don't have. Then she abrogates the treaties. Because she feels like she's no longer worried that you have the advantage over her. On the battlefield, let's talk negotiation. Let's negotiate. Let's do this. Let's have a cessation of violence and negotiate. You weren't saying that when you were bragging about the offensive that the Ukrainians were making. You weren't saying that. You're not saying it with Israel, as Israel is bombing Lebanon, Palestine, Syria. You're not saying that, right? But when they start losing on a massive scale, when they're stuck in the mire politically, economically, and militarily, and all of a sudden, when you go to the UN, we need an immediate ceasefire. With no preconditions. That's to save your boys. That's to save your girls that are losing on the battlefield. Russia better be aware of this. Iran better be aware of this. And all of the nations that are watching better be aware of this. America will not stop, will not yield, will not halt unless she is openly defeated or she makes her will stand over you. That's the only way she knows. That is the only outcome in her mind. Look at what's going on. If you think I'm lying, see, let's look at a couple examples, okay, before I play the video. If you think what I'm saying has no legitimacy, right? If you think what I'm saying has no legitimacy, look at Ukraine. Look at Ukraine. Look at the situation in Ukraine. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed. Over 1 million has been displaced and wounded. And America continues to interfere because she says that she cannot allow Russia to win. Do you understand? Do you understand the lunacy of that? Do you understand that has to be from the mind of a megalomaniac? That the cost of life, the treasure of blood that is being paid by both sides continue on because the West has this diabolical, irrational, unhinged scheme for total world domination. And they're willing to sacrifice this nation, this people, that people, that people, that nation to get across their goal. And even, listen, they're so infantile in their thinking, so dislodged from reality, that they're prepared to take the world to thermonuclear war just to try to save face. Well, if you go to nuclear war, there'll be no face to save. You want to save face by taking it to nuclear war, but if you take it to nuclear war, there'll be no faces to save. They don't even think about this. And then they want to invest billions of dollars in space to try to find life on other planets. If there is life on other planets, and there is, do you think they want to deal with you when they see what you're doing on your own planet? Do you believe that they want to come into contact with you when they see how you're ravaging your own planet, your own people, and destroying and killing at whim just because you want to dominate? Do you believe that they will allow you to come on their planet to do what you've done on your own planet? You've got to be crazy as hell. What person in this chat would watch somebody destroy their own family, destroy their own home, destroy everything that they come in contact with, and then invite them into your home? Huh? When you see the devastation and the trail of destruction that they leave behind, you would have to be insane to do such a thing. Right? Yeah, Holly, Miranda is great. We may have him on the show coming up soon too. I hope so. It says, Joe Breff said, I think Iran is well prepared for all our wars. They're prepared. And like Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan till you get punched in the mouth. And I'm not saying that Iran is going to falter. I'm saying Iran is going to give America everything she can handle with the help of China and Russia. They're going to be pumping in weapons. They're going to give her intelligence. They're going to do. But see, this stuff does not have to reach this stage. I've been saying this for the longest. Russia's trying to do it now, but I've been saying it for the longest. If America openly advocates for giving weapons to Ukraine, you openly advocate for giving it to anybody that America is against. Syria. How the hell are you going to give S-400s to Turkey and let them use them the way they want to? And Turkey is a NATO ally, but you would only give Syria S-300s because they begged for them, and then you're holding the reins for them to use them. Syria is a tried, true, and tested ally of yours for over 40 plus years. How are you willing to sell weapons to NATO, but you didn't follow through on your pursuit of selling the weapons to Iran? And only after Iran demonstrated its partnership with you by the drones and significantly changing the makeup of the fight in Ukraine, were you then willing to give her some things? Man, I would arm everybody. Since you're doing it, I'm doing it. Anybody that has a beef with you, anybody that you occupy, man, they'll have everything. You don't even have to pay me. Your actions will pay me enough. You're not going to be the only one that is able to arm people to hurt me. For me to allow that to happen is me being derelict in my duties to protect my people. I would interdict all weapons coming into Ukraine, all of them. I don't care if they're on NATO bases and NATO territory. I will announce this if I was Putin. From this moment on, there will be a Russian interdiction of all weapons coming into Ukraine. NATO forces are warned to not ship any more weapons into Ukraine because this war is going to come to an end. And if they try you, which you know they will, introduce them to Mr. Hypersonic, Mr. Avant-Garde, Mr. Kinjal. Introduce them to them. And tell them if they respond, our response will be 5 times greater. Enough is enough. You've had your time to play this strategic nightmare. Ukraine has lost a lot. We have lost a lot. Enough is enough. We're bringing this to a head. And if you intervene, that gives us the right to interdict on NATO territory and in NATO airspace, according to international law. We'll go from there. Now, if you want to escalate after that, that's on you. Remember, I'm the one that's been with the strategic patience. Now let's see how patient you will be. See, all of that is always put on the back of the people that are being attacked, never on the back of the people who are doing the attack. Well, let America do this. No, don't escalate. Don't do this. But America ignoring international law and arming everybody and bombing everybody and helping everybody to destabilize and kill me, that's not escalation. Man, if you don't get out of here with that foolishness, tell that to somebody else. Because when I initiate the policies, from that point on, I'm deaf. I don't want you to call me. You didn't call me to negotiate. When you send those shipments over there and I interdict, don't call me. We're not answering the phone. We don't want to talk because we've talked to you behind closed doors. We've negotiated with you. You've been derelict in all of your responsibilities. You've been a backstabber. Do not call us. Whatever happens, happens. And if it escalates to a world war, it's all on you. History will condemn you, not me. But you cannot be shivering in your boots over a world war and allow this man to run roughshod all over the planet, raping and pillaging and robbing and occupying everybody. And everybody is cowering because they fear that it might be escalating into a world war. To hell with that. If he's doing that, it's already a world war. He's not doing it in America. He's doing it in Ukraine. He's doing it in Armenia. He's doing it in Mali. He's doing it in the Burkina Faso. He's doing it in Niger, in Chad, in CAR. He's doing it in the former Soviet republics. He's doing it in Latin America. It's already global. My response didn't make it global. My response is trying to keep it from igniting past that. We don't look at things like that. We don't put things in their proper perspective. Breeze says, this is just the part where the East says we played by your rules as long as we can. That's what I'm saying. What is his name? Glaziev. Sergei Glaziev. The guy who is working on the economic blueprint for the global South. Actually, he's taking the blueprint from Mugabe and from Kwame Nkrumah, Mugabe, and Gaddafi. A lot of the playbook that he is putting out there for the global South and Russia, that came from the playbook of those guys. That's why Nkrumah was, they tried to do the Nkrumah. That's why they did what they did to Patrice Lumumba. That's why they've done what they've done to Gaddafi. That's why they sanctioned Zimbabwe. And the United States saw those plans as a threat to dollar hegemony and Western hegemony. And Glaziev is now implementing them in his directives, talking to the global South. He's saying, the hell with the debt we owe America in the West. Tell them to get it how they live. Let's just, from this point on, cut off all trade, all ties, and let's go our own way and build up our world. And let them flounder and flop. That's what they're saying. I agree with that. I've been saying it forever. The Ponzi scheme is coming to an end. Oh, somebody, what did he say? He says the next is all-out war between Russia, China, Iran, and the West. It's going to happen like this. Iran, which is Persia. China and Russia will aid Iran militarily. They will give her what she needs to weaken America. America will be forced. And when I say America, I'm talking about England too. So don't get it twisted. They'll be forced out of West Asia or the Middle East and North Africa. And China is going to beat the flip-flops off of them in Asia. This is the truth. Listen, if what I'm saying is not true, go back and see where we are right now and go listen to what I told you to expect. Go a year ago or 2 years ago on one of my shows or any of the shows, just toss a coin up and pick one of them and then listen to it and then look at where we are right now. Right now. Okay? So I have a track record on this. I'm not just taking some out of my head and just saying it to you all to get attention. That's not what I'm doing. The war will happen in the MENA region first. It will be a regional conflagration. I've been telling you that for the longest. This will break American and British power. They will hop over to Asia to redeploy because they'll see they're losing Asia because China is rising. China and America will engage in a military conflict. And listen to what I'm telling you, so that when this happens, you can come back and say, Rashid said that. And when the big channels start talking on it, you'll say, hey, but Rashid said that. Look, when it happens, Asia, the Asian nations are going to be watching. And as China starts to dig into America, all of those nations that were allied with America, they're going to turn on. They're going to turn on it, and they're going to join with China. What? I know you don't see any evidence of it. Just listen to what I'm saying. Do you believe that, I don't care how belligerent the Japanese government is, do you believe for one instance that they forgot that America dropped not one but two atomic bombs on them? Do you believe for one second that they have forgiven the United States and the United States occupies about 80% of Okinawa as a military base, and the people protest every day about that? Do you believe that? Do you believe that the Philippines, even under this new ruler, do you believe that the people of the Philippines are over the rape and slaughter of the people that happened in the 20th century by the United States? Huh? What about the Vietnamese? Do you believe that they forgot about all the unexploded ordinances, the Agent Orange that was used, and the massacre of people? Would you forget that? Hell, America can't let go of the Civil War and always telling people to forget about slavery. She can't let go of the War of Revolution and telling people to forget about slavery. She can't let go 9/11 and telling people to forget about the trials and tribulations that they've gone through in Yugoslavia, in Latin America, and everywhere like that. Do you believe that those nations forgot and have forgiven for the hell that the Western world has put on them? When China weakens, when this war weakens America, and she goes in there and China beats the flip-flops off of them, you'll see. And then America is going to hop back to Europe, and she's going to fight Russia. And Russia, this will be her last stand internationally. Listen to what I'm saying. As a global power, America's last stand will be made in Europe. And what will happen is those former Soviet republics, Russia's going to get some of them back. This is what I'm telling you now. And America is they're going to be begging America to invoke Article 5. And they're going to do it in America and China. Russia are going to go head to head in Europe. Head to head. And Russia is going to dig so far in America's butt that America is going to initiate a nuclear strike. When I was saying this a few years ago, nobody believed me. What is Larry Wilkerson saying now? I fear not Russia, not China, but America being in the weakened position that she's in and being beaten in war, that she may initiate what? A nuclear strike. Haven't I been telling you guys that for years? It's just coming full circle. And what's going to happen is there will be a nuclear exchange in Europe. It won't spread to the United States. It's going to be a nuclear, and it's going to come an agreement where America is going to limp back home. And when she limps back home, those Latin American nations are going to remember all the hell that America put on her. And that's why they're so frightened of that open border. Because when this happens, they're coming up through the border. They're going to get their comeuppance. Watch what I tell you guys. I know it sounds out there, but I'm telling you this. I have been on point with everything I'm saying. And you see how other people are now coming around. When everybody was talking about World War III off Ukraine, I told you, look at the MENA region. That's where it's going to jump out. Where are we at now? We're talking about the MENA region. So just give it a little time, and it'll come into play for you. And you'll see, and you'll say, Rashid didn't lie to us. He didn't lie at all. It says, America, the UK, and BlackRock has destroyed the Ukraine. Yes, you better believe. And some of that is on the Ukraine's corruption, though. Because if it were me, I would have been kicked them out. I would have rather for us to eat grass than to allow for 500,000 soldiers to be killed and over a million people wounded, and 10 to 15 million go into become refugees in other nations. That's not good leadership. Level with the people. Sometimes people get mad, but if you talk to them and you look them in the eye and tell them what you can and can't do and what's really going on, sometimes they'll understand, because they go through things too. And they look at what America is doing. They look at what England is doing. They look at what the West is doing. They will understand. They would rather eat grass with you as a nation than to allow for the U.S., the U.K., and NATO to come in and revert that nation to a subject that is on its knees crawling. It's better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. Always remember that. Always. Let's see. Ping one is in the Ping. Let me see something, Ping. Why are you here? Hold on 1 second, Ping. And then we'll go to you. Where are you? Oh. There you go, Ping. I told you the last time I was on it, but I couldn't do it because my computers were acting up. But this time, there's your wrench. It says the West is committing war crimes and crimes against humanity in the open. This is what I'm saying. Why should you play by the rules when it is a detriment to your livelihood as a state, a viable nation, and your people? You're the only one that is suffering casualties with civilians. And then you're worrying about civilian casualties on the other side. Man, if you don't stop that, stop. I worry about your civilians when you worry about mine. When it hits home, that's when you'll start worrying. America in the West has these laws for thee and not for me. That's the way they look at it. And how in the world can you win the mud wrestling championship if you're afraid to get the mud on you? America's all in the mud. You standing outside the ring, reaching in like this, and you're trying to win with your arms. You don't have your body in, just your arms in it. And every time the mud splashes, you do this. Sometimes you got to get mud on you to win a mud wrestling championship. You understand? Netanyahu's grandfather changed it. Oh, yeah. I saw that. But all of the people who are claiming to be Israelis are from the Khazari area of Europe. You know, they're from that area. But I won't go too much in that because we got a show coming up for patrons and for stream where we're going to be interacting, talking about a lot of stuff. You're going to learn from me, and I'm going to learn from you. Let's see. This right, and this is a joke, right? Them folks, we know he's doing this on purpose. Them, when he's talking about those folks or them folks aren't to be taken lightly. They're vampires, absolutely. This is what Russia has to understand. America will not yield until she has accomplished her goal, or you sock her in the mouth. The West will not. They're still talking about deep strikes in the Russian territory. Look at the situation. Had Russia hit them with a hypersonic missile on one of those bases that in NATO territory, as a reminder that we have capabilities that you don't, then there would have been a drying up stream of weaponry into Ukraine. They would have seen that, okay, there's a price to pay. But as long as I talk and I allow them to do what they're doing, they don't care about that. America weighs you, buddy. They weigh you. They weigh you. That's what they weighed. They weighed Iran when they assassinated Soleimani. They weighed Iran when they assassinated the dignitaries, the academics, the politicians, the military officers, and they weighed Iran when they assassinated Nasrallah and the IRGC general. They continue to weigh you. If you don't strike back, the empire strikes out. I'm telling you this. They will strike out at you. White Hat says international community, LOL. I'm telling you, the international community, my behind. From the Caucasus to Pinky and the Brain style, world domination. That's all that's on their mind. And he says, preach, Brother Rashid. Oh, Shelly Northwest from Seattle. Shout out to Shelly from Seattle. Breeze says, very interesting. Ping One says, real talk, Rashid, the white supremacists are out of control and need to be checked. And let me tell you something. Hold on one second. Let me tell you something. This thing is set up, the system is set up in such a way, I don't think anybody understands the gravity of this. No one man, woman, or child, no two men, women, or children will be able to change the system. It is deeply rooted in fascism, racism, sexism, exceptionalism, and privilege. That is why it has to expand the debt burden. Why do you think it expands the debt burden? So that the rich can get richer at your expense. It is a parasitic, by nature system that feeds on misery of others. If I can keep that nation in misery, I can steal the resources. If I can keep that element of my society in misery, I can have that society point at this one. And then while they're looking at it, I'm going to steal everybody's stuff. The system has to be uprooted. For if you just mow the grass, the root is still there. If you just take the leaderships out, the root is still underground. And with a little fertile food and water, guess what happens? And a little sunshine, it blooms again. You have to take it from the bottom. You have to get the root up. And the root of wars, the root of exploitation, the root of poverty, the root of disillusionment and dissatisfaction is the Western world's or the Western economic, political, and military system. It's the root. Nobody can deny it. From colonialism to exceptionalism. From capitalism to cronyism. It's the root cause of instability, exploitation, and disillusionment of the people. You understand? On the one hand, they scream about welfare, right? I'm gonna bring some numbers on this stuff about welfare and who receives this and receives that. I'm gonna bring you guys some numbers. It's gonna shock you, all right? But all the while, they may spend $10 billion on welfare, and they give the corporations hundreds of billions of dollars apiece in corporate welfare. What do you think the 2008 bailout was? Trillions of dollars for corporations. That's welfare. What about corporate subsidies? That's welfare. They're looking out for the well-being of that corporation. Why not invest in the people by taking the money, educating the people, helping them out financially until they're stable, and building companies that produce jobs and that enlighten the minds of people so that they can be innovative and create jobs? No, that's not for the rich class. We have to dominate. We have to have poor people, middle class people, so that we can exploit them. The parasite always needs a host to exist. They have to have fresh blood. That's why I call them Nosferatu. That's why I call the system of the West Count Dracula. Because that's what a vampire does. It sucks the life's blood out of its victim to sustain his own life. And that's what we've seen with the Western world in colonialism, in capitalism, in their fascism, and their exceptionalism. We're watching the complete collapse and fall of the Western world. And before I go, let me play the clip that I promised you that I was going to play. This is Mohammed Marandi, okay?
They assassinated scientists. They murdered Iranian military officers. They bombed an Iranian embassy. They injured an Iranian ambassador in Lebanon through his beeper. They have been killing Iranians and guests of Iran in Iran. Mr. Haniyeh, who was an official guest of the president. Iran showed patience. That time is over. It's finished. From now, it's like someone who finally jumps into the pool. From now on, it is a response for every provocation. If the Israeli regime makes the foolish mistake of responding, the Iranian retaliation will be even more severe. And Iran will continue to hammer the regime until it submits. Remember that Iran has many underground missile and drone bases across the country, huge underground bases, hundreds of thousands of missiles and hundreds of thousands of drones. These were created because Iran, after the United States invaded Afghanistan and Iraq, it was preparing for war with the United States. But now they're using it against Israel. So this is for something much bigger than Israel. Iran can easily outgun the regime. And Israel is already in more than enough trouble as it is. So the Israeli regime would be smart to end this. And I think there are many in Tehran which would actually like to see an Israeli retaliation so that the Iranians can really hammer them hard. But I think the most important thing is actually not what the Israelis do, because they'll, as I said, they'll be punished. But it's what the Americans decide to do. The Netanyahu and his people want an escalation. They want the Americans in the war because Netanyahu has lost. He's lost in Gaza, in the Red Sea. He's lost in Lebanon. He's lost everywhere. The economy is in tatters. The world despises the regime for its genocide, and now the genocidal strikes in Lebanon. So what he needs is for the Americans to get involved. But if the Americans get involved, the Iranians will wipe out their bases in the Persian Gulf. And those regimes in the Persian Gulf that are hosting them, they will be gone.
Yeah. So that's what we are. I've been telling you guys that for a few years, right? That's where we are now. And we're moving quickly towards the inflection point. We're moving quickly towards the culmination of all of this, all of the intransigent policies, all of the intransigent moves, all of the belligerent acts that have taken place. All of that comes to a head. You know, it's boiling over right now. And, you know, even when you look at pipes, the metal pipes, excuse me, they're strong. You can't bend them, right? And something as subtle as steam can burst the pipe. If you put too much in there and it's compact, it will eventually burst the pipe. That's where we are. The political pipes are bursting at the seams. We're watching in real time the fall of America and the collapse of the Western world. I don't know how many times people have to tell someone this, but this is the end of the reign of the so-called world's sole superpower. This is the end of the reign of the colonial powers. This is it. That's why they're all going in right now. You say, why? Against the will of the people. Why are they ignoring them? Even as the people protest in Europe, even as the people protest in America, even as the people protest in the UK. Why are they ignoring the protest? Because they are all so invested heavily in maintaining the system that when the system collapses, all of the wealth, all of the influence, and all of the power that they have accumulated over the centuries goes with it. And then they'll have to start on an even playing field. And this is unacceptable for people who believe that they're above everybody and that they're exceptional. So they're going all in with America, even with insane policies, deep strikes into Russia. Let's wage war with Iran. Let's try to fight China. All of these things makes no sense to a rational, calm person. But to an irrational, illogical, insane, desperate leadership, it makes perfect sense. But the thing that it is going to make for is a hard fall for America and the Western world. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me. Remember to join me tomorrow morning, tomorrow at noon. We'll have CIA analyst Larry Johnson on the show. Monday, we'll have Scott of Calibrated on the show, and we're going to have more and more guests. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, anywhere in God's green earth. This is your platform for truth, education, and edification and elevation. This is the Red Pill Diaries. And remember to do right by others, not because other people are watching, but because it's the right thing to do. Because when no one's watching, always remember that God has his eyes on each and every one of us. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. I love you all. Thank you all. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. We're out of here. Peace.